Hey there, welcome to the Member Experience Advantage. I'm Joy Duling from the Joy of Membership. So, this week I want to talk about a stumbling block for a lot of organizations, and that is finding the budget for growth. Now, as I was writing my article for this week, I was like, if I had a nickel for every time that an organization told me that they could not do something because of their budget, I would have a whole lot of nickels. But I mean, the truth is that most associations and trade groups and nonprofits are operating on a lean budget. I'm trying to do more with less. So there is a reality around how can we invest money in doing the things that we need to do if we have this lean budget. So I get it. I totally get it. But I also believe that one of the universal truths in business is that making change happen for your organization is always going to require an investment. It's either going to require a financial investment or a time investment, or both, a mix of both. And as it goes, generally speaking, if you don't have a lot of money to invest, you're going to have to invest time. And if you invest time, you can save some money. So, there's kind of a relationship there between the two. Now, creating change always requires that you invest one of those two things. And a perfect example is what you see in, well, at least here in the US, in American politics, we're in the midst of election season. So, what would happen if, a candidate wanted to, be elected into office, but they didn't have any money to invest and they didn't have any time to invest? Well, chances are on election day, they wouldn't be seeing the results they want. And the change that they're going for is to, influence voters to think that they are the best person and to get their vote. Well, if they don't run any ads, they don't put out any, yard signs, they don't invest in getting out in front of people. Financially, all of those things cost money. If they don't invest that and they don't invest time in volunteers and, walking around neighborhoods and knocking on doors and, putting on, big events where they can get their message out, then if they don't make those investments, there's a good chance that they won't see the change that they want to see. It's just part of being in business, being an organization, and making change happen. So I wanted to talk about this topic because I kind of see organizations doing this sort of thing all the time. They talk about wanting to create a change, but then they can't seem to find the money or find the time to make it happen. So you see these in things like we know our onboarding process needs work, but we haven't been able to find the time to work on it. We know that our website needs to be updated. We need to move from paper applications to online applications. But we don't really have the money to invest in a website overhaul. We'd really like to attract younger members to our organization, but we really just don't have the resources to go out and do presentations at schools or to create a recruitment packet that is, targeted to, younger professionals. We'd like to get our board all on the same page and we'd like them to be focused on member experience, but nobody can take the time to go to a retreat and, we can't spend the money to bring an external facilitator. So if you're stuck kind of in that mindset of we're so busy, we can't invest time and we are too budget poor to be able to invest money, you're going to be stuck and you're going to stay in the same place fighting the same problems for a long time. Growth requires us to step up to a bigger call to action. We actually have to we have to find the capacity within ourselves and within our organization to make hard things happen. So I wanted to give you three tips or strategies for how you can find the money or the time to invest in change. So the first possibility is, of course, you can prune what's not currently working. Now, a lot of times with organizations, especially if they've been around for a while, we tend to do things that are routine. We have annual events that we do every year. We have annual publications that we do every year. We have, monthly newsletters, weekly email blasts. We have the same people involved in things over and over. And every now and then, we need to pause and look at, are we actually getting results from those things that we're doing? Because there's a very good chance that you are investing time and money in some things that may not make sense for you anymore, that really aren't outcome drivers. There's a perfect example today. I was working on an analysis for a client, and we were looking at how staff were spending their time. And it turned out, when I did this analysis, that 63% of the key staff person's time was being spent on activities that didn't drive any strategic outcome. Now, that's not to say that the activity wasn't important and didn't feel really good to the organization. But when you look at what the organization was actually trying to achieve, that 63% of time investment really wasn't moving the dial for them. So they have to step back and look at that situation and determine if that investment makes sense. And maybe it's time to prune that back a little bit so that that time, and there of course is a financial investment in that staff's time, but so that investment could perhaps be redirected in some other ways that would be more in alignment with the changes that the organization wants to see, more in alignment with their strategic objectives. So that, of course, is the first option. Look to see if there are potentially areas that you can prune so that you can redirect those resources in another way. The second option for kind of finding the time and money where there doesn't seem to be any is to split the cost. Now, this is not a common thing for organizations to explore, but let's say that you want to bring in a consultant to work with you on a specific issue. Are there other organizations in your community that are struggling with something similar, or other chapters within your organization that are struggling with something similar? And could those organizations split the cost of the consultant? Are there ways that you can leverage the work and investments that each of those organizations have made to ease the financial burden on everyone? Sometimes it takes a little creative thinking, but I have seen organizations partner together to do things like sharing the cost of event coordination and having one organization sort of, manage all of the registrations process and the staffing of conferences and things like that. And then the organizations share the cost of those resources. So there are definitely ways that you can work with others who share your goals, have similar needs, and you can ease the financial burden and the time burden on both of the organizations. And then the third possibility for creating time and money where you feel like you don't currently have it is simply to create new revenue sources. Now, I know that probably sounds like it's easier said than done, but today, there are so many options for creating non-dues revenue. So you can offer products that are printed on demand. And so instead of your organization having to have inventory and manage all of that. You can offer products that are actually made available to your stakeholders exactly when someone orders it. So you could have t-shirts and bumper stickers and notebooks and things like that that are beautifully branded, something that your audience is very interested in having. And you really don't have to manage the physical products at all. So you could create a whole new revenue line from offering those sorts of creative things. You can offer greeting cards, mice pads, apparel items, all sorts of things would be a possibility. I also have a client who just began offering a new educational webinar series and choosing topics that are of relevance not just to their members, but to other a wider band of stakeholders so that they can start bringing in revenue from, you know, not just their members, but other supporters as well. So with a little creativity, you can come up with some ways to create money where you don't necessarily have it in existence now. So I hope these ideas are helpful to you. I hope that you are not feeling like you are stuck because of a limitation on time or money. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Share with me if this is a problem that you have run into, and if you have come up with any creative solutions for your organization. I would love to hear about those. So I will see you same time, same place next week. And in the meantime, have a great Friday and a great rest of your week.